This week on the Weekly Reid.
You're a 20-year-old father. What was that like, having to take on those responsibilities so unexpectedly?
All I think about is my children.
I think it's so important, especially for little girls, to have their father around.
Hi, and welcome back to the Weekly Reid, where our goal is to educate and entertain simultaneously. That being said, this week's show is going to be just as important as the rest. This week's show is all about the father's perspective instead of the mother's, which we tend to gravitate to. So this week we're talking about co-parenting and what it's like to be a young father and things along those lines. That being said, it is my pleasure to introduce to you my guest, Lamar Bonet.
So thank you so much for coming to my show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, and can you just introduce yourself?
My name is Lamar Bonet, and I'm originally from Philadelphia.
Okay, and so what are you coming on to talk about today?
I'm going to be talking about the experience of being a father. And I guess just a few points, I guess my growth, understanding certain things.
So how has that been so far, being a father?
For the most part, it's been very insightful.
Okay.
I know I've learned a lot about myself.
Right.
And it's also changed my outlook on a lot of things that I was very hesitant and, putting myself in before. And, I don't know, it's a lot of things that, daily that I'm starting to really realize that has changed. As far as I guess I would say certain things I allow myself to put up with,
right.
As far as individuals, regardless of whether it's relationships or just even business or jobs, certain things that certain standards I hold for myself, because at the end of the day I know that I am a father,
right,
and I have responsibilities.
Right.
So, yeah.
So do you feel like the moment that you became a father, do you think it's, because I hear some people say it's like an instant change, do you think that that's true?
Very true,
yeah.
Honestly. Because I feel like the moment I found out that I was going to be a father, I think, I don't know, it just kind of it just really just clicked in.
Right.
Honestly. It was just, I was like, okay, I have to really get on my stuff. Because I was really into art, I was into photography and everything, but I had to be really realistic with myself, and, I had to look for some type of stability, because it wasn't really, I guess I would say the term, putting food on the table.
Right,
So,
yeah.
I really had to make certain decisions, and just knowing how to, I guess, go about things, taking things more seriously as far as, thinking about longevity and, I guess that would be better for the future.
Okay.
As far as, I guess, how much I'm making, things I really wasn't worried about before. Honestly,
right.
How much I'm making, whether they have medical benefits, 401k.
Things that I'm not even thinking about. Yeah.
Exactly. It's so you start taking a lot of other things into account.
You're a 20-year-old father. What was that like, having to take on those responsibilities so unexpectedly?
I was really excited, honestly. And it was surprising, because I thought, if I were to ever be in a position to where I was a young father, I wouldn't take it lightly, because I had so many things I wanted to do. But really, I was just excited about the fact, because, to my standard, I didn't think I had the best childhood I could have. So I was just really excited to be able to, I guess, raise my kids the way I would prefer to be raised.
Right.
And certain things. And then also, I guess the realization of knowing that it's not a game, everything that you instill in your children, how you raise them, what you bring around them, the type of people you bring around them, that's when I was kind of like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So I was excited, but then I did have that oh shit moment.
So what was it like waiting for them to come? I said them, I kind of ruined that you have twins, but...
Are you talking about through the 9 months?
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, at first I was really impatient, and I don't know, it was kind of hard, but it was all mixed emotions. Honestly, now I'm thinking about it. It was very mixed emotions, because I was very impatient, but I was also really excited, and I didn't really take that time for granted, because I was learning a lot of things. I was really involved in the growth of the baby within the room and everything.
That's
awesome. It was really exciting.
Because I feel like but you don't typically hear that the fathers are really interested in how what the baby looks like this week versus the next. So did you have an app? Did you have the app?
I did have 3 apps. Actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
And I had a few books too, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I was overly involved.
Yeah. So twins, what is that like?
Honestly, I don't even know how to describe it. I was like, cause I never was really able to take the time to wrap, my mind around the fact that I had children, let alone twins.
At 20, twins at 20.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
It's really interesting, especially now because they're grown and they're developing. So you're starting to see a bit of their personalities.
Okay.
And how they react to certain things. Like Aziza, the firstborn. She's a bit more into me than Saniy is.
Okay.
Yeah, Saniy is pretty tired of me quick.
Really?
Yeah. Like she has me for maybe I have her for about 10 minutes and she's just ready to go to her mom.
Oh.
You can already tell they have favorites.
Yeah.
Well, I tend to say I don't have favorites.
Yeah.
But they definitely do have favorites for sure. Actually.
Wow. And so what's co-parenting like with their mom?
Co-parenting, at first it was very difficult because, being that she automatically was a person that was involved in more, being that I was working majority of the day, she held on a bit more tighter.
Right.
She had more of the time, so when it came to, them being with me and she's not around, that was a really tough thing for her. But it took some conversations. There was a lot of disagreements, but we found some middle ground for sure.
Okay.
We're still in the process of it. But,
right.
For the most part, we've gotten a better understanding, and some agreements were made for sure. But it's still a growing process. But
okay. And so, what advice would you give people who are trying to co-parent?
Honestly, you definitely have to be open-minded to, I guess, each other's point of view, honestly, and how both of you may feel, because even though, for me, for instance, all I want to do is just, have my children and not have to, because at first, I was transporting myself from Philadelphia to New York, to see them, and it became very tiring going back and forth. So then the idea of having them with me for the weekends came up, and I wasn't really understanding why she was very, hesitant, or there was an issue about it, but then I had to understand, she's had them, more time to create that bond with them, and she's really in tune with them, and also she carried them for 9 months.
Yeah.
So just kind of understanding that. At first I wasn't. I was just kind of why are you being so difficult?
Right.
But you definitely have to be understanding of both sides for sure. Understand where you're coming from, and but also be mindful of how the other person feels, and what may be going through their mind as well.
Yeah.
And then also separate any issues between you two away from, I guess, your parenting for sure, because that can become a really big issue.
Right.
Which is something that we learned in the beginning.
Yeah.
But we definitely pushed it aside instantly after we realized that was going to be a big issue.
Right.
But yeah, because it's just you definitely, especially if it's pretty new, the relationship ending, it's just it can be a bit unusual still being involved with each other, compared to just two individuals breaking up,
Yeah.
and then two individuals who have children breaking up. So
Yeah. I can imagine how difficult that must be at times.
I wouldn't even say it's difficult now, but it was in the beginning.
In the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, because it was we couldn't really have a normal conversation. There was arguments from time to time because, it was just really still over the getting over phase.
Yeah.
And then we're both new to this. We're
parenting
and everything. And then, so, the typical relationships, you have time away from each other.
To just
you
be
don't,
away.
Exactly. You don't get that when you have children. You still
Yeah.
have to be involved with each other. You still have to, talk to each other and communicate and be aware of what's going on and where I'm at and where you're at. So it's
Right.
it's kind of, being in the moment, but also being very, I guess, conscious of what you allow for that environment to turn into, whether you allow yourself to let that negative energy project into your surroundings and affect the kids and everything, or whether you put that to the side and focus on the more important thing.
Okay, so with the state of the country, or the state that the country's in now, were you nervous about bringing lives into the world?
Honestly, no. I'm actually not, because my main thing that's really important to me right now, instead of me worrying about how society is now, because there's really no telling how it's going to be a few years from now. It's really just me focusing on raising my kids, instilling, good characteristics in them.
Okay.
Making sure that, they're the best individuals they can be and that they're also spending time getting to, know themselves, being aware of their surroundings also, and, because if I were to spend time really worrying about, how society is now and then going into it, I would go crazy.
Yeah.
Honestly, especially, I have 2 young girls, so it's just like, who knows? And boys are crazy now, so it's just like, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm not really worried about that because at the end of the day, what my focus is making sure my girls, are aware of their place in life and how they are as individuals. So based on that, they'll be able to know what decisions, are good for them and stuff.
Okay. So having 2 little girls, what's something that you really want to instill in them that might have not been instilled in you as a child, or what's something that you'd like to give them that maybe you weren't given?
Well, first I would say something that I've realized, especially in my childhood, that's not really taught is self-love for sure. Because there's a lot of different aspects of self-love. And it comes to the things that you allow yourself to be in, to the people you allow in your area. To also things that you inflict on yourself as far as like the type of food you eat,
right.
The type of things that you indulge yourself in, whether it's smoking, it's just all around self-love really. So that's something that's really important for sure.
How is that being, that you're at distance from them? What is that like for you?
Well, it's definitely difficult for sure. It really took some time for me to really get adjusted to it because I was so used to, the time that I did spend with them, or any free time I just spent with them only. So
right.
Like now, me being in a different state, temporarily, because we're definitely putting things in a place where we can change that. It's where I'm at now is like whatever I'm doing here, I have to make sure I'm doing it 100% because, I have to make every moment count when I'm away from my children.
Yeah.
I'm not here to have fun. I'm not here to play around or just, enjoy my time away from my kids. Really, I'm just making sure I'm able to create a life for myself that's better for me and my children.
Right.
For the both of us. And then also their mother as well. So
yeah. You're trying, so hard to make sure that you're a part of their lives and very active in their lives. So what do you think about people who just kind of just act like their children aren't there? Men or women?
What do I think about that? Honestly, I've never really been able to understand it because all I think about is my children.
Right.
Every second, regardless of what the situation is, I always tend to bring them up in the conversation even. So, I mean, that's something I've definitely never really understood or been able to wrap my mind around. But I've always, I guess I kind of got the idea that it definitely has something to do with how they were raised. How their parents were, or whether they had someone that was involved with them or not, whether they had a father figure or a mother figure that may, take something away from, them knowing how to be a father or a mother or,
right.
Taking value in, that privilege, because a lot of people don't look at it as a privilege because it definitely is for sure.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah, I could definitely agree with you on that because I did have my father in my life, and my dad had his father in his life, and my mom has her father in her life, and I just noticed a difference from people who do have both of their parents in their lives versus people who don't. And I think it's so important, especially for little girls, to have their father around. My dad, and drives me crazy sometimes, but I feel like him being around is definitely done a lot for me. He's taught me a lot. He showed me how a man should love a woman. He showed me how a woman should be treated by a man, and just relationships, period. And then my grandfather did the same. I don't know any couple who really likes each other more than my grandparents do. So I definitely think that that's very important to being your kid's life, and I'm glad that you realize that too, because I know, especially being young, it would be easy to just kind of be like what did Kevin Hart call it, like a step parent, like you just come up on the steps or something. I think that was him. Yeah, but I know how easy that might be to fall into for a younger father who's still trying to figure his life out, who's still trying to find his way, who's still trying to kind of live his life. So again, I really commend you.
Thank you.
No problem. And so what does the future look like for you? Are you adding more kids eventually, or?
I mean, I want a boy, especially now because I've been seeing, people, parents and stuff with their little boys and everything. I'm like, man, I really want that. At first, I always wanted a girl.
Okay, and you got 2 of them.
Exactly. So when I found out that I was having twins, I was like, okay, can one of them be a girl, and then one of them be a boy, and I'd be fine. That'd be done for me. No more kids.
Yeah.
But then it was like, no, 2 girls. I was like, man, is it worth trying for a boy? Because women run really strong in my family. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, like my uncle, he loves having kids. So I think he has 12 kids. It's crazy. I mean, all by the same woman. I don't even know how that happens. But the first 9 were girls.
Wow.
Yeah, the first 9 were girls before.
And twins run in your family too.
Yep, I'm a twin. My mother, she's a fraternal twin. My sister, she has twins. And then my uncle, he has twins as well. Yeah.
So when you found out that you were having twins, you were kind of like, of course, like.
Yeah, I knew there was a chance, but I kept trying to convince myself that it wasn't.
Yeah.
But it was definitely something I was brought in the conversation, like, what if we have twins?
Yeah.
And then like maybe a month or 2 later, we found out we were having twins. It was really like, those moments where you kind of like looking at the ultrasound. It's like how they showed in the movies. It was exactly like that.
Really?
And I didn't really know how to take it. I think I was just laughing the whole time.
Wow.
Honestly.
I probably would have been too.
That's all I could do. It was like, it's either that or cry. So.
Yeah. And you can't cry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Try to stay strong pretty much. So.
Right. And I've definitely noticed that you were a support system for her, and you still continue to be, and for your kids. And I feel like I keep saying that I'm proud of you, but I really am, because you're really killing it, kid.
I'm trying.
Yeah. But well, that's pretty much it. Did you have any lasting things that you want to say?
Honestly, no. I'm definitely growing for sure. Every day is a new day. They're definitely growing fast. I wish they would slow down. Like that's really something that really happens. Like they grow. It's like certain things that don't really set in because you really take it for granted, especially when you see other people's kids. Like, oh man, they got so big so fast.
Right. Yeah.
And then now you just like slow down.
Yeah.
Like because they're your kids. It's like, you want to enjoy every moment and it happens so fast. Like even. With the whole co-parenting thing, you miss certain things or you see certain things later on. Like sometimes I'll call her and I'm just like that she just started doing this, or Aziza's holding a bottle, just normal stuff like holding a bottle, or like Saniy started like grabbing her feet. There's certain things just like she's grabbing her feet.
Yeah.
So with me, I'm like so excited. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So if there's anything that you could change, would you change anything?
Nope. No, because my kids probably would be here. So. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on my show. You were absolutely amazing, and that's a wrap.